And this is now becoming a real crisis.
Harry was not in love with Meghan Markle. He was in love with somebody else who turned him down.
When you look at the one who got away, and she's living the life that you hope to live one day, in Mystique no less, with a lovely man who treats her very well, of course that is going to hurt.
I don't think that Harry would ever leave those children. And so he's stuck in California and he doesn't have any friends, really. You know, Nacho is there sometimes, but he also lives in Florida and he's constantly traveling. He hangs out with his security guards and Meghan and the kids.
Harry has woken up and smelled the roses. And he's not happy because it's not roses he's smelling. He's smelling something bad. Poop.
What if the biggest royal scandal of 2026 wasn't about money, lawsuits, or even the monarchy? What if it was about regret? Because while the world was busy watching courtroom drama and Netflix deals crumble around Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, something quietly happened thousands of miles away that might have hit Harry harder than any tabloid headline ever could. No press conference. No royal announcement. No PR machine spinning the narrative. Just a single photograph. A beach. A newborn baby wrapped in white. And a woman smiling peacefully at the camera. That woman? Chelsy Davy. The woman many royal insiders once whispered was the only person Prince Harry ever truly loved.
Prince Harry is heartbroken all over again. Now, of course, this is something that he is never going to admit publicly, especially as his marriage to Meghan Markle crumbles.
And that baby? Her third child. Now here's the twist that has royal watchers raising their eyebrows so high they might never come down again, because while Chelsy was welcoming a new life into the world on a quiet island beach, Prince Harry was sitting in a courtroom, fighting yet another war with the British press, a war that's already cost him friendships, credibility, and possibly millions. Coincidence? Or something far more uncomfortable? Because suddenly, people are asking a question the royal PR teams would very much prefer nobody say out loud. Did Harry walk away from the life he actually wanted for a life he's now desperately trying to survive? And if that question is starting to haunt him, then what happened next might explain why whispers of divorce, regret, and royal fallout are getting louder by the day.
You can see it in their public appearances that this man can't even stand to look at this woman.
The strange thing about royal drama is that it almost never explodes overnight. It builds quietly, slowly, like pressure inside a sealed container. And if you follow the long, messy history surrounding Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and the woman many insiders still call the one who got away, Chelsy Davy, you start to notice something unsettling. Because this story didn't begin in California. It didn't begin with Netflix deals, podcast contracts, or royal interviews. It began more than 20 years ago. Back in 2004, during Harry's gap year in South Africa, he met Chelsy Davy in Cape Town. At the time, Harry wasn't the controversial figure the internet debates about today. He was the rebellious but lovable spare, the royal who partied too hard, laughed too loudly, and somehow managed to make the entire British public feel protective of him. And Chelsy? She wasn't impressed by the titles.
Diana looked after him like a child. He was a child, but she had to really nurse him and hold him, and he was a damaged child from the start.
Friends who knew them during those early years described something surprisingly normal. No palace drama. No royal strategy meetings. Just two young people traveling around Africa, attending university, and trying, sometimes unsuccessfully, to avoid the paparazzi circus that followed Harry everywhere. But even back then, the warning signs were there. Because dating a prince doesn't just mean fancy dinners and palace invitations. It means cameras outside your apartment at midnight. Reporters tracking your flights. Private investigators digging through every corner of your life. Chelsy experienced all of it.
If there was a willing billionaire, she would only leave for a step up.
And according to several former palace aides who spoke anonymously years later, she struggled with something that people around Harry began to notice very quickly. She didn't want the crown. Not the attention. Not the spotlight. And definitely not the constant surveillance that comes with being attached to the British royal machine. One former royal staffer allegedly summarized the situation in 3 blunt words that have quietly circulated among royal reporters for years. She hated it. And yet, despite all of that, their relationship lasted 7 years. 7 years of on and off breakups. 7 years of royal weddings, family introductions, and whispered speculation that she might eventually become Prince Harry's wife. She attended the wedding of Prince William and Catherine, Princess of Wales, in 2011. She met senior members of the royal family. She stood beside Harry during some of the most important moments of his early adult life. But behind the scenes, something was breaking.
Unfortunately for Harry, after just a couple of dates, Sarah and Macklin decided that Harry was too dumb, too self-absorbed, too nasty to date, that she didn't want to date him.
Friends say the pressure from the media was relentless. Every move Chelsy made became a headline. Every holiday, every phone call, every night out with friends somehow ended up in tabloids the next morning. And eventually she reached a conclusion that Harry, at the time, simply couldn't accept. She didn't want that future. Years later, Chelsy would describe royal life in one brutally honest sentence during an interview that still circulates online today.
Yeah, he loved her a lot, and she really loved him, and they had great fun together. And he liked it because she wasn't worried about the royal family. That wasn't a big deal for her. She just fitted in very easily.
It was crazy, scary, and incredibly uncomfortable. So she walked away, not with a dramatic interview, not with accusations, just quietly. By 2016, their relationship was officially over. And when Harry later wrote about her in interviews and his memoir, one detail stood out again and again. He admitted the feelings never completely disappeared. Now fast forward nearly a decade. Harry's life has changed in ways almost nobody could have predicted. He married Meghan Markle. He stepped away from royal duties. He moved across the Atlantic. He signed massive media deals. And he began a very public war with the British press. Meanwhile, Chelsy Davy did the exact opposite. No royal drama, no interviews.
So he started having affairs with all sorts of other girls, and she got very upset, and he didn't go and see her for a long time, so she went off and left him. Now that's his fault, 100% his fault.
No streaming documentaries. Instead, she built a quiet life centered around family, business, and privacy. Which brings us back to that photograph. The one that appeared online earlier this year. It was simple. Almost suspiciously simple. A beach in Mauritius. Sunlight reflecting off the water. And Chelsy Davy holding her newborn son. The caption was short. Welcome to the world, Finn. No royal titles. No publicity campaign. Just a moment shared with friends and followers. But within hours, the image started spreading across royal discussion forums and gossip blogs. Because the timing couldn't have been stranger. At the exact same moment Chelsy was celebrating the birth of her third child, Prince Harry was sitting inside a London courtroom. And what happened inside that courtroom would soon trigger one of the most uncomfortable twists of his entire public life.
Totally miserable, totally allowing his negative past to take over him, all of these court battles, and just a great sense of sadness, actually, and anger connected to him.
Because while that peaceful photo of Chelsy Davy holding her newborn quietly floated around Instagram, something far less peaceful was happening inside a courtroom in London. And this is where the story takes a turn nobody expected. Inside the witness box sat Prince Harry, once again locked in a legal battle with one of Britain's most powerful newspaper groups. Cameras weren't allowed in the courtroom, but reporters packed the benches, scribbling every word as Harry testified about how the tabloids allegedly destroyed parts of his private life. For years, this has been Harry's central argument. The press ruined his relationships. The press invaded his privacy. The press pushed him into a war he never wanted. But during cross-examination, something unusual happened. A lawyer representing the newspaper calmly stood up and introduced a piece of evidence that instantly changed the atmosphere in the room. Private messages. Messages Harry had allegedly exchanged years earlier with a British journalist, a reporter he had previously claimed he barely knew. At first, the courtroom went silent. Then the messages started being read aloud. Playful nicknames. Late-night chats.
When he is rebelling against her, because now I think it's going to be more and more where we're going to see Harry want to try to get more and more of his freedoms back from Meghan.
Flirtatious language that sounded far more personal than Harry's earlier testimony suggested. One message allegedly included a line that made several reporters glance up from their notebooks at the same time. Miss our movie snuggles. Now suddenly the narrative looked very different. Because the same prince who had repeatedly said he had no friendly contact with journalists appeared to have been chatting privately with one. Within minutes of a hearing ending, reporters rushed outside and the story hit the internet like a lightning strike. Royal Twitter exploded. One trending thread read, "Wait, so Harry says the media ruined his relationships, but he was texting journalists at 2:50 a.m. Make it make sense." Another viral post wrote, "Meanwhile, Chelsy is on a beach with her third baby and zero drama." Someone explained this timeline. Within hours, the hashtag #HarryCourtroom drama started climbing social media rankings. Royal commentators jumped in. Some defended Harry, arguing that the messages were harmless and being exaggerated. Others were far less sympathetic. One well-known British media personality tweeted a message that racked up over 2 million views in a single night. Prince Harry built an entire legal crusade on the idea that journalists could only get information illegally, and now we're seeing texts suggesting he was chatting with them himself. Then the celebrity reactions began. A Hollywood comedian joked during a late-night monologue that Harry had become the only man in history fighting the press while simultaneously flirting with it. A podcast host bluntly said the situation looked like a PR disaster unfolding in real time. But the most brutal comparisons came from royal watchers who couldn't stop pointing out the contrast between Harry's courtroom chaos and Chelsy Davies' quiet life. Screenshots of a beach photo circulated next to headlines about Harry's testimony. One viral meme showed two images side by side. On the left, Chelsy smiling peacefully with her newborn. On the right, Harry looking tense outside the courthouse. The caption? Two people. Two choices. Suddenly the conversation online shifted. This wasn't just about leaked messages anymore. People began asking a much bigger question. Had Prince Harry spent years blaming the media for destroying his past relationships, while ignoring the complicated reality of how those relationships actually ended? And as the debate intensified, another rumor quietly started spreading through royal gossip circles. A rumor that had nothing to do with courtrooms or journalists. It had to do with Harry's marriage to Meghan Markle, and a timeline that some insiders were now watching very, very closely. And just when people thought the story had reached its peak, another detail surfaced that made the entire situation feel even more complicated. Because while the internet was still arguing about courtroom messages, old relationships, and beach photos, royal analysts quietly started circling a date on the calendar. Not a random date. A very specific one. May 19, 2028. At first, that date doesn't sound particularly dramatic. But if you follow the timeline of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, it suddenly becomes extremely interesting. Because that marks 10 years since their wedding. And in California, where the couple now lives, crossing the 10-year mark in a marriage isn't just symbolic, it's legal. Under California family law, a marriage that lasts 10 years or longer is often classified as a long-term marriage. And that classification changes the way courts can handle spousal support if a divorce ever happens. Now, to be clear, nobody has officially confirmed any divorce plans. Harry himself has joked in the past that the media has already divorced him and Meghan 10 or 12 times. But the timing of everything happening right now has definitely caught attention. Because over the past few years, several of the couple's biggest partnerships have quietly fallen apart. Their Spotify deal ended early. Their Netflix arrangement reportedly shifted into a smaller first-look agreement. Staff members who once worked closely with them have gradually moved on. Even some royal commentators who once defended the couple have started asking uncomfortable questions. One media analyst recently said on a talk show, "Something about the Sussex strategy just isn't working the way they expected." Meanwhile, the contrast with Chelsy Davies' life continues to grow. While Harry battles lawsuits, headlines, and endless public scrutiny, Chelsy Davies appears to be living the exact kind of quiet life he once described wanting. A private business, a peaceful home, and now 3 children. Which brings the story full circle to that image from Mauritius. The photograph that seems so ordinary at first glance. Because sometimes the most powerful reminders don't come from arguments or accusations. Sometimes they come from a single moment that forces people to reflect on the roads they didn't take. And that's why royal watchers can't stop debating what this moment really means. Did Harry truly lose the life he once dreamed about? Or is this just another chapter in a story that the world has been trying to oversimplify for years? One thing is certain. The drama surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle isn't disappearing anytime soon. If anything, the next few years could bring even more twists, legal battles, media wars, and possibly decisions that reshape their future in ways nobody can fully predict yet. And with that 2028 date quietly approaching, insiders say the real question might not be whether another shock is coming, but when. Because if the past few years have proven anything, it's this. When it comes to Prince Harry, the next headline is always just around the corner. And maybe that's the most uncomfortable part of this entire story. Because when you zoom out and look at everything happening around Prince Harry right now, the lawsuits, the headlines, the media wars, the rumors, the endless public debates, one question keeps coming back again and again. Was this really the life he wanted? Remember, this is the same man who spent years talking about escaping the spotlight, about wanting peace, about building a quiet life far away from cameras and royal drama. But today, the cameras are still there. The drama is louder than ever. And the headlines just keep coming. Meanwhile, Somewhere far from courtrooms and royal reporters, Chelsy Davy is living a life that looks almost suspiciously close to the one Harry once described in interviews, a life built around privacy, family, and distance from the chaos. 3 children, a private business, a quiet island life, no press tours, no public feuds, no viral courtroom moments. And that contrast is exactly why the internet cannot stop talking about this story. Because every time a new headline about Harry and Meghan Markle appears, people keep asking the same uncomfortable question. Did Prince Harry trade the life he truly wanted for a life that never stopped fighting back? Or is the public simply watching a complicated story and trying to force it into a simple narrative? And now the biggest mystery of all still hangs in the air. What happens next? Will the legal battles finally end? Will Harry and Meghan rebuild their public image? Or will the pressure surrounding their careers, their reputation, and their future continue to grow as that 2028 milestone slowly gets closer? Because if there's one thing royal history has taught us, it's that the biggest twists almost always happen when people think the drama is over. But what do you think? Is this just another exaggerated royal controversy, or are we watching the early signs of something much bigger unfolding behind the scenes? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear what you think about this entire situation. And if you enjoy deep dives into royal scandals, hidden details, and stories that the headlines only partially explain, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because the next twist in this story might arrive sooner than anyone expects.